Welcome all to the Newcrown podcast. I am back with another guest. This guest actually has been there in a last season. Actually, it was like 2 years ago,
Mhm.
and a lot of things has happened since then. We've done a couple of movies together,
A few.
and also a documentary together. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Hugo. I was there last season, but I'm going to reintroduce myself really quickly. I'm an independent filmmaker doing mainly writing, directing, and direction of photography. I've done lots of projects. I mean, almost all of my projects for the last 2 to 3 years since I'm in Montreal have been involving this guy that is presenting your show. Like he's been holding on to me, or I've been holding on to him. I don't know. We'll see which one is which through the interview. Yeah, studied films for 4 years at the very least after high school. Doing short films in parallel to studying. Done short films and a bit of work for 2 years after finishing two bachelor's degree in film studies, one at the Sorbonne in Paris and one at Concordia, Montreal. I'm
Yeah,
currently back in studies for a master's degree in films and video games. And meanwhile, I keep writing stuff, trying to direct stuff, and being DP to make it quick.
how is that actually the master's degree? Like how's that going on right now?
It's going well. Like it's doing great. It's really theory work. Like it's not
Mm.
related to making films. It's more understanding how they work. And it's a master's in which I actually study more video games than films.
Mhm.
And I earned it myself that way because I've been knowing for quite a while that at least half of my ideas of films come from video games.
Mhm.
And well, I'm gonna say that to the audience, but you know me, I'm kind of like I don't like to wing stuff. I like to learn the rules before making. So, and I don't mind studying, like, and I won't say I'm good at it, I'm not bad at it.
Mhm.
So,
I was wondering like what particular games, because you often you said that video games often like give you inspiration for films. What
mhm.
kind of video games do you more gravitate towards? Is it more like story based games? Is it more like MMORPG? What are your interests?
Yeah, okay, so the types of games I play, I'm a lot into, I do play a lot of narrative games, but let's say that in video games, too much narratives kill the narrative. How to
Mhm.
say, like, I'm not a lot into, like, interactive movie kind of stuff, like David Cage. Like David Cage is the most well-known or Telltale kind of games. I'm not really into that sort of stuff. Like an example I would
Dark
give
Souls,
is like
Dark Souls.
I'm a huge fan of the Dark Souls games, which have narrative in some aspects.
Yeah.
I've played like, but more classic narrative games. I've played all the Metal Gear Solid games,
Mm.
like first to last. Like I know this saga word to word. Just recently, I've started playing Resident Evil, like the
Mm.
first Resident Evil on PlayStation 1,
Yeah.
which is known to be the one of the most cinematic video game ever made because it's like literally camera angles, like a film through
Mm.
which you have to play.
Mm.
What kind of games? I
Final
like more
Fantasy.
arcade.
Do you like Final Fantasy? The type of film?
Actually, I've tried it and I hated it. Like Final Fantasy, I've been meaning to play them for a very long time, but I didn't have access to them for lots of reasons. And I've tried it once with Final Fantasy 15
Okay.
when it came out, and it
Yeah.
was a huge disappointment. But I don't know if it counts because 15 is known to be quite different from the rest of the
Yeah.
gang. But yeah, I didn't buy much into it for a lot of reasons, but I think I won't apply that to the whole Final Fantasy franchise. I'll give it a go some other time. Like in terms of RPG,
Mhm.
if you since you mentioned it, I'm a huge Persona
Oh,
fan.
okay. Okay.
Like Persona 5, obviously, which has been the big hit. Like I've played Persona 4 right before that. Persona is known as spin-off from Shin Megami Tensei, and I've played Shin Megami Tensei 3. Right now, I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 like everyone
Oh
else
yeah, yeah.
with a friend of mine because Baldur's Gate is life, and I just got hooked on D&D, paper D&D too. So of
Nice.
course, uh, Divinity, Original Sin. So a lot of story-based stuff, but as I described, the games that still are games, like
Yeah.
like far away from interactive movie, quote unquote.
Interesting. So like when you actually take inspiration from these, do you take them from like the character, the mood? What exactly do you take inspiration from? Like
It can,
the
it can be a lot of things. It can be just a choice of shots. Like
interesting. Okay.
sometimes in my mood boards, that in my mood boards that I do more for myself than for the project. Like is in my mood boards, you would find like captures of some video games, and I'll be like, oh, I saw this angle, which was really interesting, and would work in the film. Sometimes it's visual because like I'm a huge sci-fi and fantasy fan, like
Hmm.
in a global way, like not space opera specifically or horror, like
Yeah.
anything that is outside of the real, let's say.
Hmm.
And there's a huge creativity in video games that doesn't exist as much in films, like because video games, you don't have to be there's less an emphasis on consistencies and being coherent in video games because it's games, and sometimes
Yeah.
your game can just make sense through the rules of the game. Like one of the greatest example of that is Persona. Like if you transcribe Persona in a film, like good luck.
Yeah.
Like a lot of it works because it's a video game, and that allows a lot of visual artists to go into crazy stuff that they wouldn't dare doing in a film.
Mm.
And often I would see this specific visual in video game, and I would be like, oh, that would be great for a film, and I extract it and I put it in
Okay.
my film. Like
So like a little.
that's what
Yep.
happened in my last short film, for instance, that we'll get to maybe.
For which one? Is it Upward or is it
For Missing String,
Mission
like
Street? Okay. Okay. Yeah.
my last short film as a director, as a sole director, because after that
Yeah.
I co-directed the film, was hugely inspired by Death Stranding, for instance, because
Okay.
like, have you played Death Stranding?
No, I haven't. No.
Well, to make it really short, without having to sum up the whole game, it's an open world, and as you wander through the world to spot certain types of enemies, you have black strings, which in the sky, which
Uh.
are vertical. They go from down to up, and I when you play, there's often those huge landscapes, or like you will see mountains, clouds, and far away you
Yeah.
would see
A
those all
string.
those strings and black
Yeah.
lines piecing through
Interesting.
piecing through the sky. And I love that, and it marked me so much that I've put it in my last short film, and I've made the entire short film around that.
Well, since you brought it up, I actually want to talk about your last short film. So you did a full festival circuit with it, no? Or
For I don't know. I mean, it's been almost a year. Like on
yeah,
precisely November 29th will be a year.
okay. But
I'm
it's been like you got like some recognition. You got like awards, I believe, and you also got screenings of your short film in
yeah,
April.
lots of private screenings, like with only juries or a specific set of audience. One public screening that was really open, and I'm still waiting for 7 festivals right now.
Mm, okay.
Some of them giving notice in 2024. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's closer to the end than the beginning, clearly. Like
So what has been your experience so far with the film well the sort of reception of the film and also like the festivals themselves?
it's been kind of a double-edged sword. A lot of disappointments and a lot of good things.
No, that's good.
Um, let's say, let's say the good thing is the recognition. Like it's not. I at first when I started sending, like when I created a sheet of the film on Film Freeway, which is a site I would recommend because there's tons of festivals on just that, and it handles
Mm,
a lot of the process. You don't have to go through email and such. Everything's centralized.
yeah.
Um, when I first created the sheet, I was thinking nobody's gonna take my film. It's not gonna work out because I'm basically alone. I don't have like a big distribution company or
Yeah.
even an agent. I'm just alone, like filling the sheet of the film and sending it as myself.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not that hard. Of course, you have to make a good film, but like it's not that hard to get recognized because there's so many festivals that eventually you always find festivals who will like what you do
Hmm.
and will recognize your work and be like, yes, that is good. We can award that. Like it's yeah, you wouldn't think there's too much films for too little festivals.
Hmm.
It is partly true, but it's not as true as a lot of people say. Like you can get recognition. It is possible to do it.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what I would say. The downside is if there's a glass wall, there's a glass roof that you are bound to hit, and I think I kind of hit it, which is getting quote unquote there's recognition and there's big recognition. Like a
Hmm.
lot of small festivals, small town festivals, small entities will recognize your work, but let's say getting recognized by big entities like let's say the FNC in Montreal
Hmm.
or like
TIFF, and
all
like
the TIFF or anything, those are the difficult ones.
yeah.
And the logic that I've applied personally is that, well, I'll send it to as much festivals as I can, and having enough recognition in small circuits can help you get into the big circuits.
Hmm.
That's the logic I've been trying to apply so far. Uh, and so far, I would say in the small circuits, I've got a lot of laurels and a lot of awards from medium, small festivals. And I'm actually waiting right now for two big festivals, which are Tribeca from New York,
Yeah. Trebek. Yeah.
and also send it to Sundance,
Okay.
Los Angeles. I already tried TIFF and didn't work out.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like it's a like be careful to which festivals. Like make a bit of research before sending it, because
Yeah.
there's even on Film Freeway does a bit of a filter,
Yeah.
but there can be scams. Be careful with that. People who just take your movie and not reappropriate it, but like won't do any publicity to your movie.
Yeah.
They'll just be like, "There you go. You've been featured in our festivals, and you can't even find the link of the festival." Let's say, like this
So,
is one of the dangers. Like, it's be careful with that. Don't be like, "Oh, I'm gonna send it to 20 places in once." Like, you can take your time. Most deadlines have like a month's notice, so make a
yeah.
bit of research. So that was the disappointment part, and the good part was like getting recognized at least a bit for the work that I've given to this film.
So how'd you filter out and kind of like categorize the festivals you want to project your film in? Especially like the small circuits, like the big circuits. Obviously, we all have kind of like our bucket list of
Mhm.
what big circuits we want to go to. But for smaller ones, how did you kind of like filter out? Did you go by like region? Did you go by like their genre? Sort of.
Um, I mean, definitely region and genres are the two most obvious. Like, I've put up Finfra always also has an option. Like, if you pay a small amount, like $5 to $10, it's not very expensive.
Yeah.
Like, you can appear on lists that festivals check when they go to Film Freeway to see your film and to send you in to ask you, oh, we're interested in sending your film to my festivals.
But can you repeat what you just
Sorry.
said?
Okay, I was saying that Film Freeway does a filter at first.
Okay.
Like not any festival can register to Film Freeway, but a lot of still scams are on it. My first region, like international festivals are great, okay, but when you are a small independent filmmaker who is trying to pierce through, it doesn't. If you live in Montreal, who cares if your film got screened in Tokyo?
Yeah.
If it was screened in Tokyo in a big festivals, yes, but like if it's a small festival, if it's a really small festival that has opened just last year
Yeah.
and won't have much people in the room, well, you don't need to send it there. So, first region, of course, genre, because there's a lot of genre focused festivals,
Mm.
like even festivals who would pretend not being genre focuses would be genre focuses. Just look at the film they selected last year, and you will see that there's always a type. Maybe
Okay.
not a genre, but there's always at least a type. And also, well, people can. can post their opinions of the experience of each festivals on Film Freeway, and sometimes it's worthwhile to go through it because like people don't hesitate to be vocal when things went wrong.
Yeah.
Like no, they don't hesitate that much. Like of course there will always be a bunch of like positive reviews from people who got into the festival and got recognition, and of course when you got recognition you're happy about it. Like I'm happy about most festivals I've been into.
Mm.
So of course, but like when they get scammed, people would say it because
Okay, good.
because you know it's like independent artists who are trying to make it into the industry. It's the community, and like in every community there's help. So
Yeah, yeah.
don't hesitate looking for commentaries. And also, you know, just the age of a festival can give you an idea. If the festival was just created last year, you know it's not gonna be big.
Yeah.
You know it, and you can be good faith and send your film anyway. I did that to a couple and got screened into one.
Mhm.
You know, it's always good also to support local festivals, but it gives you an idea of what you're getting into. Just how
Yeah.
long has it been around?
Yeah.
You know.
So what was your experience with the actual screening itself? I know personally, but
Well, I don't want to mention the festival itself
yeah,
because
don't just
I don't want
personally.
to mention anyone like or any names because um, whatever I say, I'm still grateful for my film to have been screened.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. I'm happy about it, and I'm happy of the recognition. I'm happy to have like the little to have a laurel to add to have the laurel to add to the poster. So I'm not attacking anyone. It's just that there's a lot of films, and there's a lot of films of different quality and that tackle different subjects. And sometimes festivals don't filter very
Uh,
much the films they get in,
the
they
content,
take.
the content that they have.
Yeah, there's not much of a filter, and they don't warn the people who are about to go see the films.
Oh, there was
Uh,
no warning at all.
no, no warning at all. That's the
Oh, okay.
worst part, I would say. So, like, because like I'm not gonna discuss quality of the film. Like, it doesn't matter to be honest.
Yeah.
It's more about like the content of it and the absence of warning given by the festivals. Like, because one of the festivals I got into,
Yeah.
my film was screened. My film, which is pretty light, like it tackles with heavy subjects, but those are like kind of in the background. They're not. There's nothing graphic, for instance.
Yeah.
And my film was featured right next to a film featuring a rape
Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
a beat up,
Yeah.
and they weren't really hidden. Like I still
Oh,
remember,
it was in your face. Like it wasn't
like
like a.
it wasn't pornography. There wasn't any penetration, so it was
Yeah,
still.
but it was like it wasn't metaphorical either. It was just
No, no,
very much
it was
literal.
there. It was
Okay.
right in front of your eyes. It was
Damn.
happening.
Oh, damn.
Um, so how can you describe that kind of experience? You know, you get you're happy to get into the festival. It's a small festival, but you're still happy because you're like, yes, I made it. My film has been screened in a room, like on a screen. You get in, you start seeing films. You see yours passing by, and you're happy about it.
Mm.
And I had a couple of friends coming, and I was happy that they came, etc. And then right, you got this, and you see the look of the people around you, and you see your friends leaving the room right after.
Yeah.
And my reaction to it, I was like, okay, it was just one film. You know, it's just a film in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see the rest.
Yeah.
And sadly, the two of the films the film that came right after was of the same idea,
That's
without getting
interesting.
into details.
Yeah.
And that's what made me leave the room. Yeah, at least put a disclaimer, I would say.
But did you talk to the organizers or anyone involved?
Mm,
I wonder
Not
why.
actually, I didn't because I felt like this is why I don't want to attack the festival, and I'm still saying that I'm grateful because
Yeah.
they selected me. So you know, I was kind of in the position when I was like, of course, I was biased. You know, my film got
Yeah.
screened, so
Yeah.
it's not that you don't have the right to complain when your film is screened. but still, it's like when you have an interest in your film got screened, so your opinion is biased,
Yeah,
whether you like it or not. So I was feeling too uncomfortable about that, so I didn't want to come in and complain
gotcha.
and do a scene. Like, I'm very introverted and I have a hard time complaining.
But
So
wasn't that like that was only one public screening, right? You also had private screenings.
it was one private screenings. So about that, lot of small festivals do that. Is like they do private screenings with a jury that gives awards,
Okay.
and that's a way of getting a connection because one doesn't say much,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if you have multiple, it says that your film can be of interest
Okay.
because it shows that it's not just those five people who said that the film was awful. It's like a whole group and of entity because and a lot of festivals function like that because a lot of festivals, even when they're pretty small, they receive tons of submissions.
Mm-hmm.
So a very common system is festivals who would take films monthly.
Yep.
They would make a monthly selection, and then inside that monthly selection, they would make another selection, a second round of selection for an actual in-person event. Getting into that
Okay.
in-person
Oh,
event
okay.
is very hard, and very few films get into that.
Gotcha.
But as compensation, they still give you something because they still recognize your work, and they
Yeah.
still want you, and they still want. It's kind of nice. Like I would say, it's a good way to go about things. They still
Yeah.
want you to be able to profit of the festival, so they
Interesting.
would say you were the best film of the month, or you had the award of best film in that category for the month,
Interesting.
and that's how we can stack up a lot of awards actually, and that's how I film Filmocon stacked up a lot of awards because it
Mhm.
was recognized by a lot of juries from a lot of small festivals.
Cool. Do you plan on showcasing Filmaka later on on a like a public setting? You put it on, I don't know, YouTube or freaking Vimeo or
I
whatever, or
mean,
you keep it?
definitely it's gonna end up there. Like at some point, like you're gonna move on. You're
Yeah.
gonna put it out there so that anybody could watch it. So I'm gonna do it. Like
Mhm.
most probably with you, like on
Yeah.
Newcrown. Like we'll discuss about when to do it because I'm still waiting for other festivals. But like it's gonna happen next year,
Eventually.
that's for sure. Like next
Yeah.
year, it's gonna be published.
Okay.
Like I can't say when, but it's gonna be published next year.
Speaking
The
of, speaking on
festival.
your speaking on your next year, because you've talked about your first solo film, but you also directed another film afterwards,
Yeah,
which was it's currently under post production. So I
yeah,
don't want.
which is still going under post production, so
Yeah.
let's not say too much. But I can
Yeah.
still talk about the experience a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your experience on that set, collaborating with another director?
Well, it was interesting. It wasn't my first time co-directing because when you
Okay.
go to film school, when you go to film university and you make people like you,
Yeah.
and you don't have much experience and you want help, you end up often co-directing. I've
Mm,
co-directed a lot. But that film was the first time I was working on a script that I haven't written myself.
hmm
I'm very much of a control freak when it comes to my short films. You know that. He knows that. That's why he's laughing. Like, I'm very control freak, so I don't often work on script that I weren't written by myself when it comes to directing, at least.
hmm
And it was a very interesting experience. And it was like I've learned a bunch of things with that experience because like me and the other director, we really split the film into like he wrote it and he was acting as the protagonist of the film, and I didn't officially co-wrote it, but like I was giving notes still during the process of writing, and I was mostly handling the visual part, and I was co-director and DP at the same time.
Gotcha.
Like I had that double
Gotcha.
function, and it was really interesting. It was really a unique work. It's kind of hard to describe. It's like you take something that was given by someone else.
Yeah.
You've done that more than me, so for me it was really kind of a weird experience because like I knew I didn't write it, but like still I had to project. Was able to project myself
hmm
into the script and kind of like I was almost pretending that I wrote it. Like
Okay. But I
to
was
get yourself into it, and yeah.
yeah, because like obviously like when you're directing, even if you're directing something that's you didn't wrote, you could kind of still have a a solid sort of representation of what you want to do. But when you're co-directing, you often have to compromise because the other director may not see, the
Yeah.
same thing or may not want the same thing, right? So how do you guys manage to kind of compromise in the sense that you guys kept your individual interest within the film, but also without kind of over clashing each other? You know what I mean?
It was extremely easy because it is a work, for me at least, when you're collaborating with people, it's a work you do before the project.
Yeah.
Like, before the project starts, you talk about it and you define each one objective within it,
Mm,
and you make sure they're aligned so that the clash that you're talking about doesn't happen.
mm.
Like, it really went smoothly. Like, I was with Philip, maybe he'll pass through this
Yeah, yeah.
podcast later.
I
We'll
mean, I
see.
mean, he was the host of the first season, so yeah, I'm sure all of you guys know.
That
But yeah,
is
like,
true. Like, it was with Philip, and like Philip and I, to make sure we don't clash during the process, we just made sure we had the same objective before the process started. Like, when
okay,
Philip was writing it, he was writing it in this comfort about independent production is that you can start writing before the project is launched.
yeah,
And during the whole process of writing it, as he was going through the different versions, we just talked about it and talked about what we wanted to do.
interesting.
And when we launched the project, I'm a very pre-prod guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's very
So
good. It's very good because you plan ahead of time, so
yeah,
everything is kind of
exactly.
goes
So
smoothly.
basically, all the clashing between me and Philip happened either during the writing or during the pre-prod.
Okay,
So
okay.
we made sure that all the clashes, all the moments when we weren't agreeing exactly happened before we get into like the making,
Oh,
as
the
in like
movie.
the
Yeah,
craft of the movie itself. Like he would come often on this very he would come weekly for 2 months on this very office at my place
mm.
with a chair, and we would talk it out. Like
Do, would that be like would you guys do another collaboration, or like do you prefer making solo? Obviously, like I'm guessing you prefer making your own films yourself, but like is co-directing something you'd be interested in later
Oh
on?
yeah, definitely. Like we're gonna keep co-directing. Like we've been Philip and I are very attuned to each other in terms of just cinematic taste
Okay.
and our philosophy of creating. And he's very much of a writer. Like
Hmm.
he's a very much director writer. I write
Hmm.
too, but I consider myself to be more into making images.
Gotcha. So yeah,
So
it helps out because you kind of
you
come up with
know, those two
yeah,
complete each other. He would be a text guy who is very good at writing dialogue and making sense of character story,
yeah,
and I would be the image guy who would be like, okay, how is it gonna look?
yeah,
And those two views are very helpful to complete each other. So definitely we're gonna do other stuff. We don't know when,
mm,
because we agreed on first let's finish this project.
yeah.
I myself, I have a hard time getting on my own personal stuff as long as I haven't finished this project. So we don't know exactly when, but definitely we're gonna co-direct again because it happened very smoothly and very well. Like we both not into improv too much, so we
Yeah.
were both agreeing on talking out every little thing before getting into it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's gonna happen again. Like that's for
Cool.
sure.
What was your worst experience on set? Like an experience where you went on set and you were kind of like either if it was your fault or it was someone else's fault, you're kind of just like, oh my god, what's going on here? Like you just kind of
Oh shit.
derailed completely from the actual plan ahead. Because that's happened to me a lot of times. It has happened.
Well, you've
And
told
I'm
me a
sure
lot of anecdotes like that.
and I'm sure it happened a lot of people, a lot of people who watch this, who is in the film, even in the music or whatever art form you're taking. Whenever there's a collaborative endeavor, usually there's a lot of things that goes wrong. So I'm just curious what particular.
What's the worst? I've been a very lucky guy,
Uh,
collaborative wise,
that's good. That's good.
and project wise. I've been a very lucky guy. Like my worst stories are not. Uh, like I know a lot of people have worse stories than I do. Uh, Definitely, I would say one of my worst project was one of my first. It was, I think, like the third short film that I did.
Gotcha.
And it was back in Paris when I was in Paris at the Sorbonne.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, yeah, it was my third or fourth short film, and it was mostly my fault and my collaborators because it was a typical student film that goes wrong. Like it's a group of students, they get together, they make a film, but nobody has experience
In making the
what's
film.
in making the film.
Yeah.
Like, and the few experience that you have was making other shitty short films like that one before.
Gotcha.
But like you're still in the process of learning. Like I consider that I'm always in the process of learning, but there's learning and learning. You know, there's
Yeah.
learning. There's learning how to spell letters and learning how to make sentences.
Yeah.
When you're still in the process of spelling letters, you're learning much more than someone who's trying to
Learning the
learn.
basics. Learning the basics.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was the process of learning the basics, and I don't know how to describe it. Every single mistake that could have been made on a set was made. There was pretty much no catering. We knew that we would shot between that time and that time, and without any schedule for what would happen in between or like the other.
Oh wow,
We
really
didn't.
no planning at all.
We it was weird because like I knew about how you needed to plan a shoot, but at the same time I didn't have the experience, so I was like, really, my experience of making films when you don't have experience is like you're kind of overconfident. You'll like, oh, it'll work out.
Yeah,
Don't
it
worry.
will work out. Yeah.
Like for instance, like shooting a shot counter shots. You know, early on you don't necessarily know that you have to shoot everything from one angle and then shoot everything from another angle, and you just intertwine in editing.
Yep.
It's a very basic thing, but you don't necessarily know that in the beginning.
But did you do like one character and then you just switch, or did you? Oh Jesus Christ! That's very long. That's very long.
And the worst part is that it was a dialogue between 4 characters, and we were like switching all the time. And like we started in the beginning of the afternoon, we finished at like 1 a.m. and that's
Wow, that's crazy.
because on top of it, like it was 5 characters in the film. Like it was a very classic story that you write when you're a teenager, like really kind of Tarantino-ish. It was about a group of guys playing poker, and this one of them is cheating, and he's been accused of cheating, and he's defending himself.
Yeah.
And they're all very dangerous people. So like big a huge Mexican standoff
Yeah.
that every teenager's like when you watch Reservoir Dogs and you want to recreate a new short film.
Yeah.
So it was that kind of thing. And so there was 5 characters. A few of them was by the actors, and one of them was acted by me. So I was both in front and behind the camera at the same time.
Okay.
And another one was acted by another that could act. Because like it was a first year student project, so we were technically 3 directors on it.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of exercise, and like 2 of us were forced to act in front of the camera, and there was just like 2 people behind the camera, one with the camera, one with the boom. And
well, at least the boom wasn't part of the actual actor. I mean, just like you pulled his hand like this the entire time. But what was like? How long was the film? Was it just dialogue, or just kind of like?
It was mostly dialogue. So it was like, what's fun with dialogue is like often it makes a very long film. I can find it. Like
if you want, I'll send me the link. I'll put it in the description.
No, don't do that. It's on YouTube anyway, so you can't.
Oh, you removed it. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm not putting that on display. Like this is bad.
It's the best. No, but that's the thing. You could go back and watch it compared to your more recent films. But look, like how much I have evolved.
Yeah, I can do that. But like I haven't created my own website yet, and I'll do that when I create my own website with a proper portfolio. But I'm waiting a bit before doing that.
So like this leads kind of like to the next question I was going to ask. Like what I mean, we've was it 2 years ago since you were last on the podcast. What did you learn from like experiences on set from like within the 2 years, and like how to like sort of manage the workflow and make things a lot easier and faster?
I would say that when the first time I've been on this podcast, it was confinement, right?
Yeah, it was after Come In. Come In was our film that we
Yeah,
did.
it was after we shot Come In.
Yeah.
Um, at the time, I was extremely rigid. Like, I was really like
Yeah.
stick to the plan and don't do anything
It was
else kind of
the
guy.
traumatic experience of your third short film where you had no planning made you
Uh,
over made you like
sorry, you're lagging a bit on my side, so
oh
can you repeat?
yeah. So like essentially like your third film where you essentially had no planning. Not that basically you compensated by going, no, I'm planning everything now.
Exactly. I was kind of like that, and I'm still a bit rigid today. Like I storyboard everything that I do, and
That's good.
usually I predict every. Usually I replace the script with the storyboard, like because I integrate the dialogue in the storyboard,
Mm.
it's like almost like a process of making a comic book.
Hmm.
And so I'm still like very a planner, but I would say that I've learned that improv is dangerous, but sometimes you can predict improv.
Mm.
And like for instance, you know that you write a script, you start doing the short list, but you know in advance that you're not 100% sure that you're going to be able to do what you're planning.
Yeah.
So you're preparing yourself that okay, it might not work. So in the planning, let's say to the AD that okay, that thing might not work. So can we add, I don't know, half an hour to the moment of shooting this shot because there's
Mm.
gonna be a bit of improv on it. Like I've learned a bit to balance improv with planification, and that's what happened on Missing String
Yeah.
typically when I was like both the writer, director, DP,
Hmm.
and I did a lot. I wasn't the I did a lot of the AD work because the actual AD got on board very late, so I had to do some of the AD work.
Yeah.
And there's a scene typically like which when I put it in the storyboard, it looked one way, and in the final film, it has nothing to do with what's on the storyboard. And if we talked about and 2 years ago, I would say this is a horrible situation.
Yeah.
Now I'm okay with it, and I'm happy about actually about the results in
Gotcha.
the film,
Gotcha.
because I've managed to like having ideas on the fly and do something without thinking out for 6 months. I've used photography a lot to help him with that too, because ever since the first season, I've been doing a lot of photography.
Hmm.
And basically, all of the improv that I don't want to do in films, I do it in photography. Like, I don't
That's good.
plan
Yeah.
when taking pictures. I don't plan anything. I just take my camera and I go somewhere and
Yeah, just take pictures.
I
But
just take pictures. And
but I mean, ultimately speaking, because like especially whenever you write a screenplay or whatnot, you kind of like there's a lot of things that are uncertain, like the locations. For example, you plan in to write a specific location. Sometimes it doesn't go well, or the actor, for example, you plan it one way and doesn't go another way. So I feel like adapting and allowing yourself to kind of be loose but still have that sort of solid foundation is a good way to kind of have the best of both worlds.
yeah,
So
like a lot of there's a lot of directors who are kind of like almost quote unquote choosing side. Like there's directors who be like, no,
yeah,
I don't want to change anything, and I don't want to improve anything. And then there's the other side who be like, I don't want to plan anything. I'm just gonna show up on set and like wing
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Um, and I would say like an actual good director is someone who's able to do both.
mm,
You can still have your preferences, of course. Like my preference is planning, but you have to be able to when you're a planner like me, you have to be able to improv a bit. And when you're an improv guy or
you have to,
girl or whatever, you have to accept that they must be a planning still, because otherwise it might go into a shit show.
yeah,
Uh, so yeah, a good director knows how to switch between the two. It's like actors versus crew.
yeah,
There's directors, they don't speak to the crew. They're just like, oh, I'm just here to direct the actors. And
yeah,
they just give the management of the crew to the AD and the DP.
yeah,
And they're like, okay, you two, you're gonna manage the technical part. I'm just gonna direct my actors.
yeah,
And then you have the opposite, who are technical directors who are kind of like DPs turned into directors, who would like just look at the monitor for the entire shoot and just say to the actors, "Okay, do that." Like it's the giallo way, like Italian
Yeah.
giallos used to be a bit like that. Like it would be a lot of DPs making films, and I would say that the ideal director, an actual good director, you have to learn to manage both sides and
Gotcha.
to run between the two. Like,
Interesting. I mean, like, for Legion, for example, that was like a one of the films that I first made. That was kind of like my arguably most ambitious film to date. It was kind of like an action film. That initially was just an action skit, but then it ended up being a full film. So I was kind of like,
mm,
okay, and like that was like something I really could not plan because I didn't know if any of the actors could actually do the action scene because it was
mm,
it's heavy on it. So that was like that was the moment where I kind of have to really sort of let go and kind of just like, okay, we planned the structure of the film, how we're gonna shoot things, and you know what happened? Like a lot of things happened in that film, where like one of the actors hurt himself the first day, so I kind of had to move a lot of
mm.
things, and then another one, it was like we had to like schedule around that, and then there's the timing schedule and everything. So I feel like, especially with that film, I mean, I always say this whenever we're all together. I threw everyone in the deep end, including
Yeah.
myself.
I mean, my back still remembers that film.
so I feel like because we went to the trenches, everyone kind of like by then, like, extension, all of our experiences have been significantly less like traumatic,
Oh
if
yeah,
you will.
definitely. Like, I mean, Phil, we still talk about it with Philip. Like, so since
Oh,
Philip was the main actor of Legion, like, Philip,
he's
he's
traumatized.
Philip. He's like he learned to adapt to a director. Thanks. It's okay. Like, it's barter. It's just barter. It's just a bit of barter.
So like, in comparison, because we talked like most of our films have been fiction, but like because we did a documentary together, you were my
Mhm,
DP slash camera guy and my
mhm.
documentary. What was your reaction to the documentary?
It was, well, around the same time. Well, it was very similar to doing photography on my side. So it was like not the so it wasn't a difficult process. Definitely, having done Legion and Missing String before the documentary helped
Mm,
because, like you said, you throw us in the deep end with Legion, and Legion really taught me a lot about improv. Exactly, like, because it
mm,
was this shoot was a lot of improv
yeah.
and a lot of thinking on the go what we're gonna do. And that helped me with missing string because I'd done missing string the total it was cool. I've the total other way of doing things. Like,
Yeah.
I had short lists, extremely precise short list
Precisely.
plan.
Yeah.
And like, but there was still improv, and that's remembering Legion that helped me doing improv. And when we reached documentary, which was okay, you've planned very precise interviews, but you allowed the interviews to go all over the place.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, we're gonna figure out transitions
Yeah.
between the interviews. Like, it felt, I don't know how to say it, like organic, how to
Mm,
say, like,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
as in, like, it has been a learning curve for, especially for someone like me who really likes to plan things. Like Legion, Missing String, Venue documentary has been learning curve to how to approach improv in filmmaking and
Mm,
how to accept that sometimes you can't know everything and you have to figure out on the spot.
on the spot. Yeah.
And that's blended with taking pictures and doing photography on my end. Like, really, like, I did some shots of foreign legacies exactly the same way I take pictures and I just put them on Instagram. I was just like, let's put the camera here.
Yes. Yeah. Literally that.
It's
Yes.
like this moment when you were just looking, like, everyone looks at you weirdly, you look in the void for 20 seconds, and then you just start doing the thing, and you don't know where it comes from. You just looked at this funny cloud there, and you're just putting the camera to try and frame it.
Yeah. I feel like nowadays, like, because the documentary also taught me a lot of like the difference between um because you can't really script a documentary. You could like outline it, sure, but you can't really
Yeah,
script like like how the people
yeah, because it's
talk,
about
what
capturing something that is there. So.
exactly. So it's more of a realistic sort of
Mm,
point of view. So I feel like this documentary kind of helped me out also with the kind of just like no not like dealing with actual real people and not with characters. Because obviously
mm,
with characters you can easily change like story plots and all everything, and then there's always like a pretty simple plot line that goes, like the character introduces itself and then sort of goes through a journey, and there's a climax, and then there's gonna be like an ending. But this one I really had to like outline a specific set of questions to make it similar to that, but not like removing the natural aspect of it. So that was kind of like the
mm.
hardest part, where I had to like navigate the subject to where I want them to go, but also keeping them be authentic and not like change everything. So
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a weird process. Like I'm not gonna say what it's about, but I actually found one subject of documentary that I would like to do.
nice.
I don't know yet when I'm gonna do it because it will be maybe a bit ambitious, so I don't know exactly when it's gonna go.
Deep end,
Uh,
the deep end part two.
yeah, in a way, it would be a bit that like because it will be a very difficult subject, so I would need the input of specialists into specific
Yeah,
fields to make sure I don't mess it up. Like, but yeah, I'm looking forward to try that. Like, I'm not a documentary guy, I would admit. Like, I like fiction. Like,
yeah,
yeah, my favorite genre is fantasy. Like,
yeah,
I like to get beyond the real world, but yeah,
yeah,
I was witnessing your process a lot. Well, you since I was on the shoot and I was following you around with the camera, and yeah, it looks like a particular process of like you want to get somewhere, but you don't know where how you're gonna get it, and you often end up getting somewhere that you didn't plan
yeah.
anyway. So
It's, it's like you gotta think. There's a lot of improv. You gotta think on your feet fast. You know what I mean? Like it's like
yeah, like it's kind of poking a lot at my anxiety. So I'm gonna I'm gonna approach this slowly on my own documentary. I'm gonna like
I
be
got you, got
very like okay, I do my small research and like uh, being
you.
I'm gonna be slower than you, that's for sure, because
Gotcha.
for the people listening to us, like you kind of have like the two opposite poles towards like
Literally, actually, yes.
how to get into a project. My kind of project, like I would think them out for 6 months, and then when I talk about it, seriously, it means that everything is planned out. They're all they're all the kind of people who calls you, okay, we're shooting in 2 weeks. Are you free?
Yeah, because the thing is though, because you know how you get inspiration. Like you were talking earlier, how you get inspiration from playing video games. Me, whenever I'm watching something and doing like you're watching playing video games, whatever, I get inspiration. I don't want to lose that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I create a plan around it, a general outline of everything, and then I just kind of like, you know what? Let's do something. So before I lose interest in this idea.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Like me, it's like I managed to do the reverse, like to have an idea and let it on the
Yeah.
side for a very long time because I'm very obsessed about my ideas.
Mm,
Like I have ideas who have been like taking the dust for more than 5 years now.
yeah.
And I can still recite them and say, okay, I want to do this for five.
Yeah.
It's been 5 years, still want to do it. So it depends. It's a personality thing. Like
Yeah.
I I have funny enough, I have a test to how do I know if a project takes interest, if I'm interested in the project or not.
Mm,
It's it's a memory thing. Like I don't take notes when I have an
yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
I don't take notes. I let it hang out in my head for 2 weeks and sometimes for a period that can last 2 months.
Okay.
During which I don't take any notes whatsoever. And I'm just like, if I forget about it, it means it's
It's
not
not good.
worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah.
If after like 2 weeks or sometimes 2 months of thinking about it and I can still remember exactly what it's about and without taking any sort of notes, okay, that means that it's something I'm starting to be obsessed about. And
Yeah.
it is worthwhile and I can get into it.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll shoot it in 5 years, but
But it's something that I want to hold on to. Yeah.
exactly. So it's different processes. Yeah.
So like we've talked about you being like the director slash writer, but also you've also taken projects that weren't entirely yours to say. Like you were just generally just a DP, like mine,
Yeah.
for Legacies and Legion. But what like how do you choose those type of projects? I mean, like for some, I'm guessing it's because of like you're kind of like, oh, this is actually quite interesting, but like
Yeah, I mean, and I actually, I'm not telling anything about it, but I'm going to be DP on a project soon that you know about. But since it's still in pre-prod, let's not
yeah,
divulge everything. How do I choose? Well, it's gonna sound not very fun, but it's true. Like filmmaking is networking, and of course,
Hmm.
who comes up with projects that are of interest? Often it's your friends, and
Mhm.
there's that first filter. Like I've
Mhm.
accepted projects with total strangers,
Yeah,
but it's often a friend. It's often still a friend of a friend, you know. But I would say, how do I choose? Uh, Two things. First, where can I find my own interest into it? Like, is it gonna make me do something that I'm not used to,
mm,
or on the contrary, is it gonna make me something that I'm very used to, but I very like doing it, and I'm happy
gotcha.
with just doing it for the sake of doing it
Hmm.
because it's totally in my realm. And second thing is, how doable is it, and how is the project looking like?
Mm.
Because, well, you talked about cheat shows. When you're
What?
in the
Yes.
field of the independent, when you're in the independent field, when you're not in a field that is very, when you don't have unions above people, for
Hmm.
instance,
Yeah.
or big companies that would set standards to have the project be controlled, and you're really in that independent, raw, independent, sometimes almost guerrilla environment.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of have to learn how to smell a project that is going to work out, or how it's going or a project
Yeah.
that's going to go bad. Like sometimes I've been pitched stuff. It was like, how is it going to work? But I
Um.
never say completely no, because it's kind of harsh to say no on the basic of a project that didn't take shape. Often what I say is like, come back with something more
More
complete,
concrete. Yeah.
more
Yeah. Yeah.
concrete.
Yeah.
Like I won't say anecdote that concerns me specifically, but recently, like a friend of mine in Paris told me stuff. Man, gosh,
Yeah.
like it's like she described it to me, and I was like, how is this ever gonna work out in this reality?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, I
so
mean, because the thing is, like, whenever you would like spend like food with friends, it's a lot easier because ultimately, even if the film goes to shit, there's like it's fun making movies with your friends.
yeah.
It's still like it's still like an experience. You guys have to hang out also, but
Mhm.
like I've seen a lot of projects that are very much friend of a friend of a friend type thing,
Mhm.
and sometimes just even like coworker of a friend. So it's just kind of like, yeah, it's an experience. Like
Yeah,
there's a
like
lot of
to be honest, even when it goes bad, it's still an experience. It's just that myself, I'm a very careful person, and I don't throw myself into anything very easily. But even a project that goes horribly bad is always an experience. You still learn stuff.
yeah. Because the thing is, like, especially when because I usually take the role of either a producer, director, or a like a DP. But
Hmm.
like the thing is, you know, being a DP, it's pretty simple. It's like
Yeah,
you have a shot list. You kind of like talk to the director what you want. It's like it's very
mhm.
straightforward, right?
Yeah.
Director, it's because you already know what you want. You kind of just you make it, you know.
Hmm.
So, but the thing is, when you're a producer, like especially like in the independent realm, because it's very much different whenever you're doing like a like full Hollywood film. Like when you're a producer, you kind of like you're betting on a project of being
Oh yeah,
good.
definitely. Like and yeah.
And like something, the thing is though, because I've been presented a lot of projects that the concept is really good, but the person that's doing it is not. So I'm torn because I'm like, yo, this is really good as a concept. Like, I have an idea, everything makes sense. I could, it's feasible, but like the people, the one who's like running the show or is like directing, if you will, wrote it. It's just like a complete lost cause, and you're like, do I really want to help this guy? Because at the same time, I'm gonna lose a lot, but then the project looks nice, So
Well, a bet is a bet. There's like win or lose situations. Like
yeah, that's the thing. So you gotta like
uh,
evaluate.
I'm very happy to have been trusted. Like you've given me your gear for a month, for an entire month, almost like 3 weeks
Yeah,
for my
something like
shoot
that.
for Missing String, and it went well.
Because the thing is,
Luckily,
I know how you work. That's the thing. So I trust your work
yeah,
process. So like, I'm not worried about like stuff going to going to fucking ape shit. But like, the usually the and also because you direct it, so you're kind of like running the show. So I'm like, okay, he got it. But whenever I hand it to someone else who's like partly like partly involved and or like involved, but he's in like the director position who's also doing something else, that I'm like, do I like what's going on? Like I've had
yeah,
an experience recently that I made a film prior where like I was just a PA
mm,
in that experience, and it was I didn't really care much, but like everything went to shit in that show. So like
yeah.
everyone, like one guy left early, so like we needed help, and then the director, she was kind of like more obsessed about like her little like what was it? 'Cause she was also like the director artistic, like the what do you call them, the
Yeah, art director.
yeah, the art director. So she was more concerned about that. So I was just like, okay, cool. But like at the same time, we have deadline and we gotta,
Mm,
we gotta leave. And a lot of people were pissed off about it because everyone was like, dude, you're not prioritizing the right thing. So I was kind of like, fortunately, I was just PA, so I
mm,
didn't really
yeah.
care much. But it's still like an experience where it's kind of like, okay, this is there's a lot of people are boiling. There's a lot of pieces that aren't working together, and then like imagine being like running the show on that one, like, oh Jesus. Yeah,
Well, it's again like first you got to know who you're working with. So it's hard to reach out to people that are very far away from you socially. Like
yeah,
it's kind of a hard truth, but like
yeah.
filmmaking is a social thing to me. Like
It very much is. Yes,
yeah, it's bound to be.
yeah, it's
Um,
collaborative anyway, so you have to. Yeah,
yeah, so you have to know the people you're working with, and also like how to say okay, it's just okay. It's just a small help guy I'm gonna throw away to aspiring directors here.
cool, cool, cool.
When you're directing something, you have to know everything. Like everybody has their specialty.
Mm,
My specialty is making images, and third specialty is acting and writing. So my flatmate loves to edit.
yeah,
Um, But when you're directing, like just watch Day for Night by Truffaut. It's a movie from the 60s, but it's still very relevant to what filmmaking is.
yeah,
Everybody's coming at you and asking, what do you want for this, and that? And like, so as a director, you have to accept that you have a team kind of literally looking up for you because nobody's in your head. So, and it's nobody's films, it's
yeah.
yours.
It's yours. Yeah,
It's either yours or ours, as in the teams, but like true communist horizontal organization doesn't exist. At the end of the day, as a director, you at the top of the pyramid, and you just have one or two producers on top of you, but
yeah. But
under you.
they're mostly there to kind of like they're betting on you to figure everything out essentially. So
Yeah,
like the director is the creative leader.
yeah,
You should
yeah,
know everything.
exactly.
Yeah,
So you gotta know that you're gonna have to deal with every part of the filmmaking process, even though you're not gonna do everything yourself, but you're gonna have to deal with everything. Like
yeah,
you're not gonna be DP, but you're gonna have to deal with the DP. You're not gonna be actor, but you're gonna have to deal with the actors. You're not gonna be producing, deal with the producers.
yeah.
Um, so it's really important to be aware that a film is not just acting, it's not just making images, not just writing a script, it's not just art direction, it's everything at the same time.
Mm. It's
Um,
everything everywhere all at once.
yeah, no, really, like it's funny pun because of course it's a great movie, but yeah, it's a good way to say it. Like when you're a director, you're gonna have to deal with everything, even if you don't know everything, even if you're not especially into everything. Like myself, for instance, I don't have a lot of experience in acting, so every time I talk to my actors, it's a kind of a difficult process because
Mm,
I'm not an actor myself. So I learned how to direct actor from a very director's perspective,
mm.
like giving them giving them emotions, telling them to do movement without saying without making them do it too mechanically. Like it's a whole process, but I have to deal with that, even though it's not my specialty.
Yeah, yeah.
And directors have to learn to deal with that. And when you excel at that, you have a director coming to you and asking you to work on a project. Well, it's 50-50. Like you have to do 50% of the work by getting to know the director and know if you can match its or her style, his or
Mhm.
her style. And the director has to learn to know you and know if you're gonna work well together.
Mhm.
Uh, it's
So
there's no rule. There's no rule
yeah.
about it.
To finalize this amazing interview, what is gonna be your what is your final sort of destination when it comes to your film career? What is your ultimate goal in a sense? Are you trying to go aim like Hollywood? Are you still remaining as an independent filmmaker? What do you what's the dream project?
How, however it's gonna be, however how I get to it, uh, having one of my films screened publicly in theaters, not in a
Uh,
theater, in theaters,
theaters.
like
Nice.
getting distributed,
Gotcha.
whether it's by going to Hollywood or any big industry, whether it's doing it independently, like the independent business of the independent filmmaking is booming right now in every
Mhm.
country of the world almost,
Mhm.
especially in the States and a lot in Canada too, but like everywhere, like there's a
But
lot of independent filmmaking that is getting through. And however I get it, like yeah, getting a film by me, written, directed by me in theaters.
so theater specifically, not just like streaming, not streaming
Yeah,
service or
I, ca- I wouldn't mind working for streaming services, but the end game is theaters.
theaters.
Like,
Gotcha.
yeah, just to be able to see my films, my film in theater with people that I don't know, and just get just simple stuff, getting to see the reviews online, having your film not just having an IMDb
Get
page because
get
everyone can
shit
get
on.
that.
Get
Yeah,
get shit on.
having the experience of getting shit on, or like on the opposite, getting praised, like getting a work out there that can be seen by people, and
Gotcha.
getting what I do out there uh, through theaters because I'm a very traditional guy.
Cool, cool. Do you want like are you aiming for a specific format? Are you aiming like IMAX theater, 3D type shit? Or are you just very much a
Just a feature
basic
film.
feature
Feature
film?
film from an hour and a half to 3 hours.
Speaking of,
Uh,
are you planning to make the feature film? I don't know if you want to disclose this, the feature film of your short film.
oh, yeah, not right now,
Yeah.
because right now I'm doing master's degree and there's
Yeah,
still a lot of
yeah, yeah.
shorts that I want to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah,
But
eventually, yeah.
eventually, yes. I mean, I yes, definitely. Like Missing String first came out in my head as a feature.
Gotcha.
I wrote the short in the second time when I noticed that I couldn't do the feature, so I did the short first. But yes, definitely Missing String is in the list of features that I want to do. But I have 30 features that I want to do. So
At least you already have 30.
oh yeah, like I have like it's all like small word format, like small page, like 1 to 4 pages to sum up the whole project. But yeah, like getting a career into filmmaking, like being able to live from it and getting my films out there. That's yeah, that's
Cool.
all. Like I don't have any particular ambition towards certain types of industry. I will just go to the industry that suits me the better.
Nice. All right.
Like I
Cool.
would say.
Just to end it off, do you have any like links you want to promote for your projects? Any projects you want to announce that you're working on? Anything
Um, I, w-
photography wise? Anything?
I would say I have an Instagram and a Facebook page
Gotcha.
on which I just put my pictures. So
I'll
if
link it
anyone's
below.
interested in photography,
I'll link it below.
and also this is on my those two personal links that
Cool.
I publish news about missing strings screenings and how to get into in festivals. It has been pretty quiet, so it has been pretty quiet those last 2 months,
Mm,
but definitely the first trimester of 2024 is gonna get moving again,
cool.
and yeah, Missing Train might get big festivals or not. We'll see, but like to look out for news about that, like my personal links, like Facebook and Instagram, are the best. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again, Hugo, for being on the podcast. We'll see you guys next time with another guest of
Yeah.
honor.
Thank you for having me.
See you guys.
Peace.